this next segment, we're going to be talking about how to live with somebody who, or how to deal with someone who is living with breast cancer. I've been joined by our favorite doctor, Dr. Kelvin Owusu, who has already been here once this week, and also Michelle McKinney-Hammond. She's an author and a relationship expert and a good friend of mine as well. Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So, the issue of breast cancer. Now, we talked briefly when you were here a couple of days ago.
Yes, we did.
About breast cancer and, what happens and so on. Now, today we're talking about relationships. And you're going to be in a relationship, you're married, the person has breast cancer or discovers that they have breast cancer. The news is broken usually at the hospital.
Yes, it is.
And it could be pretty daunting. First of all, how does one deal with this news that you've received?
I mean, I must say it's not an easy piece of information to pass on to the person involved. And so it's always one of those difficult things. In fact, usually the doctor or the person who is supposed to give that news, he himself or herself has some battles to deal with, because where am I going to break this news to the person? Especially in our setup where it's a bit difficult to get privacy. I mean, in our facilities, especially the public facilities, it tends to be a bit difficult to get privacy. And this is the kind of information that you sort of need a bit of privacy to break this kind of news. And so we try to improvise. And so we try to, as much as possible, to break it to the person as comfortably as it can possibly be under the circumstances. And what I'd like to say is that the woman involved, usually the women involved, their social status or their situation, their home situation also counts a lot. Because if they have somebody who they can lean on at that particular time, it's critical. So if for instance the husband is around when the news is being broken, it helps. But unfortunately, and I guess that's part of the reason why Michelle is here, unfortunately most of the time these women are alone when the news is broken. So that can also be a bit of a challenge in itself. And so there's no easy way of breaking the news about breast cancer. And especially in a setting where most people report to the hospital late. And because they are reporting late, we discovered, it's usually a late stage breast cancer, which also has an implication on prognosis. When I say prognosis, what I mean is whether the person is going to be able to overcome the challenge or make it or not. And that can even dampen the mood and make it even more, all the more difficult, And so, yes, it's a big deal. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's really a big deal breaking this news to mostly women. Of course, men also suffer breast cancer, but mostly it's the women that we see a lot of.
So, Michelle, you've heard the news. The doctors told you this is the situation. How do you elicit support from your partner? Or how do you, if you're speaking to the partner, how do you advise the partner to support the...
Well, I think that a lot goes on in the mind of a woman when she receives that information. First of all, is it curable? If there's some hope involved, that arrests some of the other things that can happen. If it's late stage, then you begin thinking about how you're going to progress with the time that you have. How much time do you have? And how are you going to spend that time? So definitely support is needed. Usually women rely more on their girlfriends, unfortunately, unless they have a husband that can really be empathetic and not, I think that probably one of the fears is he going to leave me now that I'm in this state? So really being able to express your fears in a way that cause him to rise up to be the hero for you in that moment. And then Ghanaians, we don't like to talk.
True.
And we suppress information that we need to share so that we get the support we need. So a lot of times we die silently and quietly because we don't share. We just kind of wither away. And it's very important at a critical time like that to talk, to get the right support. Your pastor, your church family, whoever your closest friends are, your mate. Let them know how you feel. Let them know your fears so that they can be there for you in prayer, support, give you hope, because God is still a miracle worker. And sometimes what the doctor says has nothing to do with what God decides. So we can always factor that in. If it really is dire, decide how you're going to live a quality life until you go. I think that's very important, to master the last chapter of your life as opposed to letting life happen to you. What am I going to do to just make the most of my time so that I leave with a smile on my face?
Leaving with a smile on your face. Now, doctor, it's sometimes what God decides overrides what the doctor has declared. Have you seen situations that were dire and somehow the people came back from the brink, as it were?
So I don't like it when you guys pitch doctors against God.
It's not an easy battle. You can't win that, but you can't win that fight.
There are a lot of doctors. Doctors are quite religious. I mean, when you see a lot of these things, you actually realize that there's supremacy of God, because there are some things, like you rightly said, some people you meet or some diagnoses you make, and you yourself know that the outcome is, this person probably is going to be dead in 3 weeks, in a month. And then you meet the person a year or two later and you are blown away. You know, and so there are situations like that. However, the problem or the issue for us is that as a doctor, as a medic, we deal with facts and statistics.
Science,
And so if we see a person with stage 4 breast cancer, this person has a very short amount of time left on this earth, because generally speaking, people with stage 4 don't live, let's say, that to 6 months or less. You know, and so when a doctor gives a prognosis and says that you probably have 6 months to live, it's not a definite thing. It's just based on statistics. It could be less, it could be more. You know, and so we never say never. In fact, in medicals, one of the things we are always told is that never say never. You know, because the human body is one of the most adaptable, one of the most interesting machines ever created. And so a lot of things can go on that we as doctors cannot even explain. You know, and so like I said, let's not pitch doctors against God.
Can I piggyback on that? Because I think that it is important to have balance in our faith. God created doctors. And he did that for a reason, because sometimes faith is not enough. Faith without works is dead. So you should listen to your doctor while having the faith and the trust that God is going to heal your body. Perhaps he's going to heal your body through you following the instructions of your doctor. You know, dietary changes. I've had several friends actually who've had cancer, and they've switched to like plant-based diets and different things, working on getting more alkaline into their system, because they talk about the fact that cancer can't live in an acidic body. So they recommend that you alkaline your, balance your pH and. Correct, doctor? I mean, these are things
what
that I've heard.
What do you say about that? Is
it?
What kind of environment is better, acidic or alkaline?
Honestly, I'm not going to comment on that yet, because there's a lot. Yes, there's a lot of alternate approaches to the treatment of cancer. But again, we come back to what is reproducible. You know, because a lot of the alternate approaches, it depends on what the person herself, or again, we are using women mostly, has been doing previously. You know, and so sometimes the sudden switch might also cause a bit more damage than expected. And so we try to focus on what is reproducible. So we know that if I give this person this particular chemotherapy combination, this is the outcome. If I give it to 200 people, 198 of them will have this same outcome. That is a bit more predictable and more. I can project based on that than the alternate side, and that's one of the reasons why we tend to have a lot of conflict with the alternate people. You know, because they work on one person and they get good results, and they think that result can be spread across everybody else. But it usually doesn't work like that. And so if they're able to standardize their treatment, in which case, even if they are not there, somebody else can apply that same treatment and get the same results, then we can have a conversation about that. And one of the major challenges we are having in Ghana, one of the reasons why women actually come to hospital late, sometimes is because of the alternate
methods that
they are
Okay.
trying to use.
Okay.
You know, because they think that once they come to hospital, their breast will be cut off, and because a lot of women put, of course, the breast is important. I mean, I love the breast. I mean,
We all do.
exactly, and so it makes it difficult for them to accept that they have breast cancer. I have personally had a client who came in, and she had a lump, which the size of the lump dictated that the breast needed to be cut off, because I mean at some point you cannot take out the lump and leave the breast, because the likelihood that it has spread is high.
Eating up most
But
of it.
at that point, if that breast had been taken off, she would have had a good quality of life. And thankfully now we are in Ghana, we can actually do reconstruction, so that you can still have a good quality of life.
Okay.
But she decided to go and do alternate approaches. And as I said, it doesn't work the same way for everybody. And by the time she came back 6 months later, it was too late.
too late.
There was nothing we could
Wow.
do. There was nothing we could do for her. And that's the thing about cancer. It spreads so fast.
Yeah.
Within a twinkle of an eye, it's
Yeah.
out of hand. You know, and so it's a challenge. I mean, I guess eventually the alternate and the conventional will meet at a point, but I don't know when that will be. I can't speak to that right now.
Because I've heard of people who have used juices, for example, just purely just go on juices, carrot juice, because there's the thinking that antioxidants will fight, the cancer. So. What's the veracity, or maybe should I say the levels of success
So
that you know?
antioxidants in general play a major role when it comes to health. And in boosting your immune system and all that. And cancer or cancer cells are also, how do I put it? The immune system also plays a role in controlling cancer cells.
Yeah.
And so in fact, in breast cancer treatment currently, there's a third or a fourth level of treatment where immune modulators are incorporated into your breast cancer treatment. And so when you are diagnosed of having breast cancer, they'll test to find out the type of cells involved, because the fact that it's breast cancer doesn't mean it's one cell. There are different types of cells in there. And so they'll find out what kind of cells are involved. They'll find out whether these cells respond to hormonal treatment, and then they'll find out whether it responds to immunotherapy as well.
Okay.
And so antioxidants play a role when it comes to that immune boosting impact of the thing. And yes, carrot juice, all those juices can play a major role in adding to the primary treatment.
Okay.
There must be a primary treatment, and then the others are added on as potentiators of the treatment.
Okay. So Michelle, in a situation where you have a couple sitting in front of you, the lady has breast cancer, the gentleman is in disbelief and is at a loss for what to even say to his wife. What are some of the advices that you can give to him in terms of how to relate with his wife, and what are the things to say to encourage her, to keep her in a space where she can actually heal?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's also important for him to be able to be transparent about what his fears are.
Okay.
Because you can bond over that. I think that he needs to let her know that he's scared too. He loves her. He's not going anywhere. He's going to support her, and they're going to fight it out together. I think that is the most important thing that a woman wants to hear. And what that does is it allows him to not have to keep everything in himself and fight within himself. Now is the time to get very honest with one another about how you feel, what your fears are, and what your approach is going to be to weathering through the storm of this thing.
Wow. The case where a husband panics, what counsel do you give? He's thinking, my wife is going to die. What do you say to him?
That he has to make her have the best quality of life. Now that the focus is off of him, because he's going to have to be strong for the rest of the family. So how do we make her quality of life one that she goes in peace?
Yeah.
And you also feel peace because you did everything. You did your best. Because, I always say that the people who are screaming the loudest at funerals are the ones who did the less for the person.
Yes.
Yeah?
I don't disagree with you.
And they didn't call you. They didn't come to see you. So now, you're gone. No roses for you. So now is the time, because there's a peace that comes. It's interesting. I have several widower friends.
Okay.
And they were great husbands to the very end. So there was a peace that they had. They had made peace with themselves that they were going. So they actually did their mourning early.
Okay.
And they were able to then be strong for that woman and be a blessing to her, pray over her, hold her hand, tell her, you're still beautiful to me, I love you. So that when she went, they had peace and they could be strong for the rest of the family. Because most of the time children are involved and other ancillary relatives are also involved. And so at that point in time, you need to be able to stand firm for those people. And then you have your moment to break. I think that, men tend to grieve privately, and that most of the time, if it's a drawn out illness, they've grieved long before the woman is gone. So he needs to take that time to grieve for himself, but also quality of life for her becomes the focus.
Yeah. So Michelle has kept repeating quality of life. What are some of the things that you think what they, as a couple, they can do to improve the quality of life, especially in the case where it's actually terminal?
Well, let me admit that it's going to be difficult. I mean, it's not going to be easy living with somebody who has breast cancer. It's especially in the, like you said, terminal situation. But I mean, some of the ways you can improve the quality of care or the quality of life of the woman is, as Michelle said, showing care. Going with her to reviews. I mean, from the doctor's perspective, I'll tell you that if the woman comes alone versus if the woman comes with her partner, there's a difference in even how she accepts the review process. You know, the news, okay, so this is improving, this is not improving. It helps. You know, just being there to hold her hand makes a huge difference. And so going with her for her review is important. And then also for her treatment. The fact that it's terminal doesn't mean that there's not going to be treatment. There will still be treatment, because sometimes the treatment, or the aim of the treatment when the case is terminal is to make the person comfortable. If there's pain, we have to remove the pain. The fact that she's dying doesn't mean she should die in pain. You know, and so the pain or pain care is critical when it comes to a terminal case. And terminal stage of breast cancer is extremely painful. The cancer can metastasize into the bone, the backbone, and that is terrible. You know, very, very difficult to bear. And so somebody being there holding her hand while she's receiving her chemotherapy, or is it radiation, or whichever treatment modality that she's going through, is very, very important. And you see, when you come with her, you yourself get the information, the knowledge about what exactly she needs to be doing, so that if she's, because depression is also a big part of this thing. If she's depressed and she's not following the protocol, then you as the partner can encourage her, can support her, sometimes can feed the medication to her if there's a need to do that. You know, but if you're not coming with her, how would you know? You know, because expecting somebody who is battling this depression alongside the terminal situation to tell you what her experiences are, not even experience, what her medication is supposed to be, it's a non-starter. You know, and so you need to be there to hear for yourself so that you can support her at home as well. Because, for instance, if the person has a back problem as a result of the cancer, even how to sit, how to lie down, it's an issue. And so you have to be able to position the pillows properly to support her at home. You know, and so it's very, very important. All these will come together to help improve the quality of life.
Thank you very much to you, Dr. Kelvin Owusu, and also to Michelle McKinney-Hammond. Thank you for joining us on the show and explaining how to support your partner who has breast cancer. Thank you very much for watching this segment of the show. We'll be back with the next segment. Don't go anywhere.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed this video.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The City Tube,
for exclusive breakfast daily content and other City TV programs.
Like, comment, and share with your friends.